Well, there's no way around it. This is going to be a bitch out video. I've heard of this sort of thing before, uh, but I just saw a link to a Huffington Post blog post. I don't think it was really an actual article about a woman who is $226,000 in debt. She's going to school to be a doctor, I guess a general practitioner or something like that, not a specialist. And isn't it a shame she's in debt? And really, she should not have to pay that back. And not only should she not have to pay it back, but the government should pay it for her. And this is, of course, not a new idea. Probably been around forever. It's becoming a little bit more, I don't want to say accepted, but logically the thing to say so far as things have been. I mean, the government has explicitly bailed out any number of corporations, either because of the corporation or because of a union attached to it, or it's mandated repayment schedules for people with mortgages, whether it be home loans or whatever. And I believe they've even started setting rates on student loans. I'm not positive. But anyway, this fucking bitch is a whore. That's absolute bullshit to come out and say that the government should just pick up the tab for something you totally agreed to. It would be one thing if a university committed some kind of atrocious fraud against you, if they said your entire tuition and everything will cost, I don't know, $5,000 this year, and then they just gave you a bill for $100,000, and it was literally, and there hadn't been any fine print or anything like that. That would be wrong. You'd have something to bitch about. If you know how much it's going to cost, and you do it anyway, then you are saying, I agree to these costs. I agree, I understand. And if you have second thoughts down the road, then you need to fess up to that and maybe change your outlook. All right? And not come and beg. It's fine to beg, but to demand that you have a right to other people's money to make you good. First of all, for me, I never had $220,000 in student loans. I'm not even sure what my maximum ever was, but whatever it was, I paid it off. I worked my ass off, and I wrote big checks. All right, I was writing $5,000 and $6,000 checks until that motherfucker was gone, because I didn't want to hear about it. I didn't want to have that millstone tied around my neck for the rest of my life. And you know, when I wrote the last check, which I think the last check I wrote to pay off the last bit on the last bill was $6,010 or something like that. And my coworker was like, "Man, I bet that's a hard check to write." And I'm thinking, it's the easiest check to write in the world. I have not looked back since then. Since then, I don't even know what to do with all the money I've made, because I don't have student loans to put it towards, or any loans for that matter. And here's the guy, he's like, "I bet that's a hard..." He's got $40,000 still in student loans, even though he finished school, I don't know, 3 or 4 years before I did. So she makes a couple of arguments, so-called, as to why this should be, and it's kind of interesting. You hear a similar line of reasoning for all kinds of petitions to get the government to give you free stuff. Basically, it's for the good of everybody that I need a huge bailout, basically. So T. Boone Pickens says, it will be good for everybody if the government gives me billions of dollars for wind power. She says, it'll be good for everybody if she becomes a doctor. And so, and then she even says something, and I'll try and put a link if I can remember. I'm really bad about that. I'll try and find it and put it in. But she says she's being altruistic because she's not going into the high-paying job. She's going into a lesser-paying thing. And since she's being so nice and altruistic to forego making more money to make slightly less money, then she deserves to be compensated enormously, to the tune of $226,000. I don't believe in altruism, but doesn't that defeat the purpose of altruism? I mean, if she really wanted to be a giver, wouldn't she say, "I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to have the taxpayers give me millions. I don't want to bail out." Wouldn't that be the more altruistic thing to say? You know what? I want to do this for the good of people, and so I'm going to live on ramen and beans for 20 years, even though I'm a doctor living in a really, 4 classes below what I'm expected to living arrangements because I'm that nice. No, she wants her cake and she wants to fucking eat it too. She wants to be a doctor. She wants to get this very expensive education. That's a whole other reason as to why it's so expensive. That she's too stupid to think about that for a minute. And then she doesn't want to pay for it. Well, shit. Then why can't we all be that way? I'm not half as greedy as her. Let me just get a mortgage on a house, $100,000 house, and have the government just pay that off. That would make my life a lot better. And since I'm only demanding half as much as she is, even less than half than she is, I'm like way better, right? She can talk about altruism all she wants, but at the end, she just wants a free handout. And it ain't free. It comes from us. It comes from the taxpayers. It either comes from taxes, or from inflation, or from borrowing, which is just more taxes, more inflation, more malinvestment in the higher education bubble, in the medical industry racket. That would lower the price if we got rid of all those regulations, if we got rid of all the bottlenecks the government has created for people who want to provide certain services, especially medical services. I don't know that there's really, with 1 or 2 exceptions, like nuclear energy or something like that, there's very few industries that have such high barriers to entry. Starting a pizza joint is difficult. Becoming a doctor is much more difficult. And that's not because the government has failed to subsidize the industry enough. It's because the government has been subsidizing the industry for 100 years. All right? But she's not an intellectual, despite her supposedly rigorous training. And apparently that never occurred to her that maybe that's the reason. Medical school should probably cost net a few $1,000s and take 1 or 2 years, and then you would probably be apprenticed in some way or another, earning a living. How you determine whether this is the thing, is that everybody in every profession can look at it, and because of the division of labor, conclude that what they do is the linchpin of society. Everybody can do that. Teachers do it, doctors do it, trash collectors do it. The government employee unions, especially, that they are very explicit about that. The fire department, the police department, those organizations pretty much claim that were it not for them, there would be no society. There's a bug in here. But really, everybody is like that. Everybody who has a job and who doesn't hate their job or hate their life will say, hey, look, if it wasn't for me, blank, blank, blank. There's that. Have you ever seen that movie, October Sky, where, what's his name? I should know his name. Jake Gyllenhaal. His dad is a coal miner. And he kind of looks down on his dad. He's like, you're not scientific. And his dad's like, listen, the mine we have here produces coal, and that coal makes steel, and so we're basically, without us, the commies would take over. Everybody can do that. The massage therapist says, hey, if I didn't do this, the productivity would go down and there'd be Armageddon. All right, so there's nothing special about being a doctor. It's a skill that some people have need for, other people don't. Most people need it from time to time, but most people don't need it all the time. I remember actually the man who originally got me to be more explicit about my political philosophy, an arch evangelical Christian but a staunch minarchist, and the person who introduced me to Ron Paul, by the way, John Mongopoulos, although I highly doubt anyone's ever heard of him. He said, I've had doctors do very good things for me. I've had family members, children, spouses, myself, who have been helped by doctors. And and I am grateful for that. But they are not fucking God, all right? They had an arrangement. He paid them. That's it. The doctor doesn't get to say, oh, hey, I know that you pay me for that cast I put on you, but also I would like you to pay for my indoor pool, or to repave my garage, or to add another flat screen, or whatever. And this is exactly what she's asking for. Now, she's saying, I want them to pay back my debts. Yeah, but money is fungible, bitch. All right, so if you have the government pay off all your debts, then you can just take all the money we're going to spend on your debts, and you can live life large, even though you're a self-effacing altruist, at least supposedly. And of course, the other thing is here, she says something about our leaders in Congress. This is what I don't get. Congressional leaders are just people who manage to get elected. They are leaders in the sense that they are able to win political campaigns, which have nothing to do with principles, ideology about running society, none of that. It's their popularity contests geared towards particular electorates in particular regions, and in certain regions, certain buzzwords. It might be abortion, it might be gun control, it might be affirmative action, it might be whatever, and that's how people get into Congress. Almost all the time. All right, so the leaders in Congress are not experts on medical care or on economics or on debt or labor or anything like that. Well, there is one expert on all those things in Congress. There is and who am I kidding? It's Ron Paul, obviously. And of course, he knows more about this than anybody else in Congress, just by his resume, just by the stuff he's written, and by the things he says. But she apparently is not going to defer to his judgment, because his judgment would be absolutely, this is absurd. What you are asking for is quintessential Bastiatian plunder. It is stealing and and being glib enough to pretend like you're doing us all a favor by demanding that we pay you for something that you wanted. Look, I sympathize with people who are in school and who are in debt. I was so glad when I got done with it. That was right when it was really starting to exponentially rocket off the face of the earth in terms of how crazily expensive / non-remunerative the experience was going to be. And all my younger cousins and friends who kind of were starting when I was finishing, I feel really bad for them. Doesn't mean they're all going to fail or anything, but the price tag is going to be a lot more, and they're going to buy something a lot shittier. Even though what I got and what I paid for is a lot more expensive and a lot shittier than what people got 10 years before, 20, 30, all the way back. Why that is, that's an obvious question to ask. Ron Paul says you should diagnose the problem before you start trying cures. He has fever. Let's start splashing buckets of cold water on him or leeching him. No, you want to figure out what the problem is. Why is your medical bill so expensive? Why is it so restricted? Why does it take so long? There's only one answer to that, by the way. There is no, the market just automatically makes medicine more expensive. That's how. No one thinks that. I mean, rhetorically, people will infer that, but it's not, there's no argument, there's no, here's the reason why, blah, blah, blah. She did not make, to her credit, any kind of overtly anti-market statements, at least so far as I saw. Basically just, what I'm doing is so important that I am really entitled to this, to a higher standard of living, that she should get something for free. Well, why shouldn't we all then, And was I stupid for paying back my loans? That's what she's saying. People who work hard and honor their obligations, who make a point to pay back what they borrow, those people are basically stupid because they should have gotten it for free. Or she's no egalitarian and she thinks I should get it for free and everybody else, or everyone who doesn't do what I do, they should have to pay. How conceited and elitist can you possibly be? What if Obama came out and he said, we're going to pass a law that says my daughters get free college. Wherever they decide to go to school, the school has to admit them, and they can't build them anything. Would that strike anybody as odd? Or how about even better? That's one way you could slice it. You could slice it this way. Or Obama could say, my daughters, the government will pay for whatever they want. If they want to go, I mean, I'm ignoring the fact now that his salary comes from it, all his wealth, either directly or indirectly, comes from the government. To just say they get to go to college for free, wherever they want, as long as they want, for whatever degree they want, and just because they're my daughters. Wouldn't people be upset about that? Damn right they would be. And yet, oh, well, I want to be a doctor. We don't know how good of a doctor you're going to be. We don't know what kind of practice. You might do it, and you might hate it, and you might quit after 5 years. All right? You might be lousy at it. You might be great at it. You may make tons of money. That's the other thing. What if she ends up making tons of money? I mean, so she's just... all she is worrying about her future, which she should have done before she jumped on that bandwagon. And saying, I want the government to take away that uncertainty, which is one of the most powerful excuses government has to exist, is to say, to promise, they can't ever deliver on this, by the way, but to promise will take away uncertainty. Give us power and money and taxes and fealty, and you won't have to worry about crime. And stupid, they don't protect anybody from crime. They don't even solve most of the crimes, let alone intercede the crimes before they happen. All right? We'll protect you from terrorists. Yeah. Yeah, how many trillions of dollars did we give them for that? And then they fucking drop the ball. I have a job. I don't get paid trillions of dollars. I get paid hundreds of dollars. And if I make a mistake, 3,000 people will not die. Some money might get wasted. And you know what will happen? I'll get fired. So I don't fucking drop the ball. Government, oh, oops. We have this whole rhetorical reason why we exist is to protect you. That's the whole... We're going to rule over you in an authoritarian, hypocritical, hierarchical way. And you should accept that and be happy for it because we will protect you from scary men. And then when the scary men come, they don't do shit. They don't even stop it. They don't even... And then trying to rectify it, they just make it worse. So they don't actually... That was a rant, sorry. They don't actually eliminate uncertainty from our lives. They don't actually give us protection. She wants them to, but she's just going to get a big check. She doesn't fucking deserve it. She doesn't deserve our money, my money, the money. She doesn't... I mean, look, I don't keep my money in paper money, so if they inflate the currencies, c'est la vie, but I'm not going to get a cost of living raise every time some dipshit thinks that the government owes them social advancement, which is what she's talking about. They should just give it to me. Give me, gimme, gimme, gimme. And the thing, and I've already said it, how do these people get off pretending like they're altruist and they're all about helping other people and say, give me this, give me. And socialists are like this, and I don't know if she's technically a socialist. I mean, obviously, rhetorically, that's where she's going or where she's coming from, but I don't know explicitly if she identifies that way. But it's so weird, like, oh, we want to help, we want to help. People are greedy. Give me everything I demand or else you're evil. So, yes, there are problems with medical school and higher education generally, and medical treatment in the medical industry generally, and any other industry you care to mention. I like doing this, by the way. The problem is not that we don't have enough intervention on the part of the government. I'm sorry. And I cannot stand the conceit of people who make demands like this. They are scum. Basically, I hate them. It pisses me off enough to rant for 20 minutes, even though there's nobody who's going to watch this who doesn't already know exactly what I was going to say, because how could you not react this way? How am I supposed to feel? Should I have just, well, I'm a dummy. Why did I spend all that money paying back those damn loans? And I knew loans were bad before. I was not where I am today when I was in high school. But I knew enough to realize paying interest is something that you'd rather not do. And I think the first year I was in college, I didn't take any loans because I had saved enough that I was able to. And when I started to take loans, it really put a damper on whatever enthusiasm there may have ever been for the whole thing, because I was like, this is serious. This is a fucking manacle with a ball and chain that's being put on me. And I'm putting it there. It wasn't put on me. I was putting it there. And I made damn sure to get it off as soon as I could. And a lot of people would say, well, you're going to go and get a master's degree, aren't you? It was just assumed. Although in what, I don't know. Or get a law degree. I'm like, no, are you kidding? And so, yeah, she's going to go to medical school, and she's in the hole $226,000. If she doesn't get this bailout, let's hope that she doesn't. Her higher earning won't do shit for her relative to people who worked at fast food the entire time. That shows you how valuable what she does is, by the way. And somebody who's frugal at Burger King is going to end up making more than she is. That's how valuable what her contribution to society could end up being. At least that's what she fears it's going to be. And you don't get to dictate to people how valuable you are to them. You don't get to waltz into an employer and say, listen, you're going to pay me this, and that's the end of the story. No. That's actually slavery to be doing that. You don't get to make that decision. That has to be a mutual exchange. You have to both agree to it. You don't get to dictate to society or any particular person or group what it is you get to be remunerated in. And if you suddenly become worried that what you're going to get paid back is less than you expected, I mean, then you should have thought about it a lot more. I don't know how people get that far into debt. Okay, if you're a millionaire and you borrow $200,000, whatever. If you're making no money, if you have no income, if you have no assets or anything, you don't have tons of savings. I mean, if she had a $500,000 savings bond or something, whatever, then what are you people thinking? And I know of worse cases than this, because I know people who have almost gotten that much into debt and not even gotten a medical degree, but had no degree. That's at some point you just have to say, I'm done. I'm done with school. I'm going to work. You're not entitled to you're not entitled to other people's wherewithal, and the stuff they make. They get to set the conditions of how you get it. You don't just get to say, I'm going to live and people give me shit. I mean, you can ask. There's nothing wrong with asking, but she's demanding. So, I don't know what else I could possibly say other than she's fucking stupid, and anyone who takes her seriously is fucking stupid and evil. And I don't see how anybody can take this seriously, and yet this is where we're headed. We're already principally we've already crossed this Rubicon a long time ago. But it's kind of like maybe up in the Apennine Mountains, the Rubicon is like this wide, and now where she wants to cross it, it's a mile wide. I don't know if that's probably a stupid analogy, but whatever. Not as stupid as she is, though.